Kathy here from kathyskutekreations. Today we're going to work on our Bloom Topia, release number 3. And when we get finished, we're going to have two 12.5-inch blocks and one strip that's going to be 3.5 by 10.5 and one strip that's going to be 3.5 by 12.5. Let's go ahead and get started, and I will show you the fabric. Here are the fabrics. Oops. And let's get started putting together. I'm going to lay the block out here on this. Now the directions say take all our A's and all our E's, and we're going to cut them one time diagonal. You should have 16 A's and 8 E's. If you want to mark, that's fine. Go ahead and mark. If you don't want to mark, that's fine also. If you don't mark, this is what you're looking for. Make sure first off that your ruler is overextending your fabric on the top and the bottom. That's number one. I have it upside down so the colors don't distract you or distract me. Put a pencil where you think that corner's at. Then put your ruler up against it. Go down to the bottom and do the same thing. And the reason for that is so when you swipe, and don't swipe it yet, when you take your rotary cutter and you cut, you want to make sure you're actually taking the corner and not to the right of the corner or to the left of the corner. And so you want to do all of them like that. And then set them aside. Over here to the table on the other side, because this is where I'm going to do my cutting. And if you look, I lined the tip with that line. And I lined the tip with that line. And if you do that, and slowly lay your ruler down. So let me get that. See how you can see the line right here? When I'm standing up straight, I can see that line. That line right there is, believe it or not, let's see if I can show a picture here. Get it in the camera. That is halfway on this white line right here. See it right there? That means it's going to go right down the middle. Excuse me. For all of the people that are perfectionists that want it straight and want them all to be split exactly in half, this is what you would be doing. Do one at a time. Don't stack them up because they will not be all correct if you stack them. Just a little hint. Now it's saying to take fabric F, which is this here, and we're going to use 2 fabric A's with it. And what we're going to do is, and you want to watch your directions here. So we're going to sew them like this and like that. Let's do that first. And when we get those sewn together, I'm going to make one block first to start out with, and then we'll sew this one to that, and that's what our block will look like. So let's get this one done, and then I'm going to have you do all the rest on your own, and then we'll be back. This probably looks backwards to you, and what I've done is I've put my white, here's the tip of the white, and it's on the bottom, and this is on the top, so that I have straight, and I don't have any kind of, when this gets done, it'll be flipped like this. But I don't want to be coming off the edge there. And I'm right-handed, so I sew from the right to the left. Or excuse me, from the top down on the right side. I don't put my fabric the other direction. I don't put it over here and sew it, which some people do. And I'm not going to pin it. So let's see if it works. And everything's a 1/4 inch. Straight stitch. And right now I started at 2.5, and I'm probably going to knock it down to 2. So we'll do 1 square first. Take it off. And it has to be ironed open before we go forward. Don't forget to press your seam. Got it flipped over, and I'm going to do the other one. Starting on the edge here. If you need to use a leader ender, go ahead, use one. If you're more comfortable with it, or you're working on another project. ahead, iron it open. On the back side, I ironed one towards the dark. That was the first one. Then I ironed the second one to the light. And the reason being is that I want to be able to see right here, because when I put this together with the next thing, I don't want to take off my nose here. Let me show you. Now, this is where, if you're new and you haven't seen this before, you want to mark your intersection. And the intersection is where the two pieces met. So here is the middle of the intersection here. And I can see it because I've ironed down my fabric one direction and another. And then I'm going to put a little mark here. And this is how I'm going to keep from going over the tip of the little, I call it the goose. So I just go like this, go like that. And when I connect them, which is what I'm going to do now to this other piece, and I will pin it now. Let me show you how I do that. We're going to put our right sides together. We're going to flip it over. And what I'm looking at is right here, I'm making sure that this fabric is only sticking out a little bit if it's sticking out at all. Same with the other side. Take my pen and go straight down in the part that I've marked. See if I can do this left-handed here for y'all. There we go. See that? Because when my sewing machine comes across that, I don't want to take that tip. See the little tip right there? On the left, on the left-hand side of that mark. And then I'm going to pin both sides here to hold it. And this is where you make sure it's as close to the seam there that you can. I'm going to come down here. I'm not going to go to the tip up there. And same here. I'm going to go about right here and pin it. And then I'm going to, instead of starting up at this end here, what I'm going to do for the new people is I'm going to start on this side of the line, and I'm going to cross it, then come on off the edge, and I'll have half of it done, and then I'll do the other half. This way I'll know I have my point and I can check it. Now, in some of my other videos, and you've probably seen it if you've watched them, I always put a pin here that holds this fabric, and down here, so that they stay up there and they don't twist and turn on me. So let's begin here. And I did knock it down to 2. Now, if you feel uncomfortable and you don't think you're going to make it, then by all means make your stitch a little bit longer so that you can take it out if you need to. It does not need to be locked into place. And if you go right on that line, then you can always take it out, move it over to the left or move it to the right. And we're going to see it here as soon as I get done with it. Take it off and take a look. Take a look at it. I'm gonna roll it over here. And I could actually go a little bit further if I wanted to. Let me show it to you here. I did not take any of the nose off. Let's see if I can find it right there. Looks pretty good. And so now I'm going to start a leader ender, or actually I can just come to the other side of the fabric. Let me flip it upside down and do it. That'd be even better yet. Let's take this off. Because I've already gone, I can see my thread. And I'm going to go ahead, and I may go back over it and move over to the right a little bit. Let's do this here. Okay. Take that up. Let me take a look at it first. No, actually I think it looks pretty good. And there's how it looks. We just need to iron it. This is supposed to measure 4.5 by 4.5. And it measures a little bit bigger. So what the first thing that I do is I put my line straight down the center, and I'm going to take off the least amount that I can to square it up. So I had to barely take it off of there. And then I'm going to do 4.5 here. Just like that. And then take this little bit off here. There we go. And now it is 4.5. And that's 4.5 by 4.5. Now, everybody else, go ahead and do all of your blocks. And we're going to lay it out like this. These are the B strips. This is the way the layout is. And we're going to sew them in rows. So you want to attach the B to the square that you have finished. This is 4.5 by 4.5. And then you attach that to B. Then set it aside. Attach, excuse me, our leftover square, because we have 2 of them to make 2 of these blocks, to B, and then B to that square, and then B to that square, and then the square to that B. And then let me show you what you're going to do. Alright, so usually what I do, I laid out the parts that I pinned, because I went ahead and I pinned the left, and then I'm going to go ahead and I chain stitch these and put as many pins as you need to hold it down. Then I go ahead and I just do the middle one. And then the last one here. And then I'm real careful here at the end because I don't want that bottom piece to be flipping on me. There we go. I find that if you go into the white with this and out with this one, and then in with this one, that it's better. Now let's pin these together. I'll show you how I pin this. And it's for both, all of them. The very first thing I do, because this has got bulk on it, so I don't want to put the bulk through the sewing machine. So the first thing I do is I line it up and I put a pin on this side right here, which will hold that into place. I go down a little bit and I'll put a pin. Now here are the 2 that we need to nestle. So I take them up, I line them up like that. Take my pin, put it up here. And I'm going on the left side of the stitching because I want this to not turn over when it comes across my sewing machine needle. I don't want anything flipping on me. If it flips, I gotta flip it myself. I don't want the machine to be flipping it. I do the same thing on this corner, except now this side on the top is where it could flip. And I go over here to the end, and because I want to make sure that this side is also even, I will go ahead and pin this side. Otherwise I'll end up with a distortion, and I don't want that. I'll pin it on the end down here. And then I'll pin it right here in the middle. Right here. And now it's pinned. What I'm going to do is I'm going to chain stitch the very top 2 rows. So I've got them both pinned. Go ahead, before I iron, I'm going to go ahead and pin the bottom rows on these 2, and then both these squares would be finished. Now I will open these up and I will iron them. Now you're going to have 2 blocks that look like that. Here's the other one. And now we're going to put the strips on. Just one of the blocks. You're going to put strip C on the right and the left of the block. And you're going to put strip D on the top and the bottom. Now, you can see I pinned on the side that has all the seams, but I put the strip on the other side because it's a lot easier. And I went ahead and I pinned both sides now so that I can just go from one to the other, and then when I'm done I'll do the sides. And my block was too big, so I went back and found out I had not done quite a 1/4 inch. I did a little bit smaller, so I went ahead and I redid 2 seams to correct it. Then when I was doing that, I was looking ahead, and sure enough, I noticed that instead of cutting 3.5 by 2.5 inch, 2 blocks of every color, I only actually cut them 2.5 by 2.5 because I was looking at the picture, and it's like the picture looked just like rectangles, except my little pieces of fabric were squares. So I stopped and hurried up and redid that and cut those out so that I can go forward, because we're going to be combining those into strips for the other block, I do believe. And somebody's getting antsy, and I do not know why. Just a minute, babe. Just a minute. I think she might have to go to the restroom. Hold on a second. I cannot hold you and do this too. It's not going to happen. No, I know. I know. Get off my pedal. Okay. Well, in addition to the restroom, she needed a drink. Sewing that long, so I don't quite know why she was thirsty, but she was, and she tells you about it when she is. French toast for dinner, and so I took the egg and milk batter and went ahead and put it in the non-stick skillet when I was done and cooked it up, and then gave that little bit to the dogs. Megan didn't want any French toast today. She had a bowl of cereal for dinner instead. Now this wraps up, whoops, let me make sure that's like that. So this wraps up the sides. Now I'm going to pin the bottom and the top, but I am going to iron this open first. Then I'm going to go ahead and pin and sew that, and you guys can do that. When your block is done, it's going to look like that. For this part, we're going to end up making 2 sets of strips. So we're going to sew all of these together, and they're going to be 10.5 inches in length. And we're going to sew all of these together, and they're going to be 12.5 inches. So it's a 3.5 by 10.5. And a 3.5 by 12.5. And let's get that. The way that I'm going to do it is I'm going to pin these 2, and then these 2, and then I will connect these 2, and then the last one. When it comes down to this row, I'll pin these 2, these 2, these 2, and then I'll connect this row here, so that'll be these 2, and this row here with those 2. Okay, here's our second block. and it's not attached to these. I just have them sitting there. And there's our short little block and our long little block, and it did not say to attach them. So unless you guys know something I don't know, that is the 2 blocks and the strips. So I hope you enjoyed this video. You learned something. It's not too long. And I will see you next time. Give me a thumbs up if you'd like. Subscribe, and take care and keep on sewing. Bye-bye.